What's holding you up? Let's get on with the show. We can't hang around here all day.
Now, Buff, be patient. Takes a little doing to set these things up.
Welcome to the Disney Scrapbook, where together we take a journey to explore Disney history from 50 years ago. My name is Nolan. Today, I thought we'd take a look at the original soundtrack to Walt Disney World's Country Bear Jamboree LP that promoted the newly opened Country Bear Jamboree attraction at both Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California. The attraction had opened at Walt Disney World on October 1st, 1971, and was then replicated for Disneyland and opened on March 24th, 1972. Even though various Disney music historians state that this record was released in 1971, I believe that it was probably released around March 1972 to better coincide with the opening of the Country Bear Jamboree attraction at Disneyland. Because if you look at the LP cover for the attraction, the Hall of Presidents, which we know was released in August 1972, the covers of the LPs have several of the same design characteristics, with both the border and banners and central images. Moreover, the copyright on the album cover is for 1972.
The Country Bears at Walt Disney World engage in a mirthful musical jamboree conducted by George Bruns.
Disney legend George Edward Bruns was a composer and conductor of music for film and television, who was personally hired by Walt Disney in 1953 to score Sleeping Beauty. His numerous compositions include the Ballad of Davy Crockett, which is featured on this LP, and music for films such as Babes in Toyland, 101 Dalmatians, Sword in the Stone, Jungle Book, The Love Bug, and The Aristocats, to mention just a few. For this attraction, he composed the Bear Band Serenade with Exitentio, Come Again, Come On In with Tom Adair, Bearless Love and Bangles O' Betsy with lyricist Gil George, which was a pseudonym for Walt's nurse Hazel George. Bruns provided all of the arrangement of the music on this LP.
The cast of the Country Bear Jamboree perform in their own pine-walled Northwoods Theatre, appropriately named Grizzly Hall. Master of ceremonies for the foot-stomping, rollicking show is Henry, a barrel-chested baritone. Henry and Wendell, as the hilarious duo, render songs a mirthful patter. Providing a bit of Cherchez la Bear are Teddy Barra, Jewel of the Dakotas, and Trixie, the Tampa Temptation. Old-time music for the show is provided by Gomer and his honky-tonk piano, and a quintet called the Five Bear Rugs. Their jamboree jive, created with the likes of a washboard, mouth harp, jug, and a one-string thing, is guaranteed to keep any audience from hibernating. Only the Disney imagination could conjure up such an obstropolous bunch as the 17 bears, not to mention a raccoon, buffalo, stag, and a moose, who star in the Country Bear Jamboree.
Disney's standard for its storyteller LPs, the 11-page booklet that accompanies the record, contains colorful sketches by the designer of the attraction, Disney legend, one of Walt's Nine Men and the Imagineer, Mark Davis. Disney legend Jimmy Johnson, the then president of the Walt Disney Music Company, wrote the text containing the elaborate backstories that the Imagineers had created for each of the characters.
Henry, master of ceremonies at the Country Bear Jamboree, stands 6 feet tall in his stocking paws. He is another famous football player who entered show business. Henry was formerly with the Goose Creek Bruins. One day they tried a hidden ball play and Henry hit the ball so well he couldn't find it. This hastened his transfer to music. For a while he had trouble finding the melody too. But Henry is a likable sort, and audience go for him like he goes for honey. For a finale, Henry sings the Ballad of Davy Crockett with Sammy, his live raccoon hat. Henry is glad he turned in his football gear for a starched shirt, and Sammy, after all, he explains, I never knew a football helmet that could sing like Sammy.
The popular Ballad of Davy Crockett, originally created for the television show of the same name, was composed by George Bruns, with lyrics by Tom Blackburn, who worked in Disney's story department. Disney employee Pete Renaday ended up voicing Henry almost by accident, as he had been pulled in to provide the temp voice for the Imagineers to be able to program the audio animatronics, and they kept it. Sammy the raccoon that sits on Henry's head as a hat is one of the voices for the show that is provided by Bill Cole. Bill Cole was a member of the popular singing quartet The Mellowmen with Phil Ravenscroft. Here he's on the far left of the quartet as they sing with Elvis in the 1969 film The Trouble with Girls.
Gomer is the piano player, but he didn't always play country and western music. His training was classical. He began pouring the ivories while a cub and practiced days and nights for many years. Finally, he went to New York, much to the relief of his neighbors. There he studied Berlioz, and his favorite composition was Night on Bear Mountain. When he heard himself referred to as the Lord in Juilliard, he quit the concert stage and went home to the hills. He is highly regarded by the other musicians because he can play in any key other than C.
Gomer has no voice, but he plays piano on a honky-tonk piano. This extremely recognizable piece was written and played by Don Robertson, a Grammy-nominated writer who wrote hit songs for Elvis Presley, amongst others. He is credited with originating the piano style known as country piano, or the Nashville slip note style.
The five Bear Rugs began playing music together when they were in first grade. 15 years later, they are still playing in fourth grade. Zeke plays the banjo and wears glasses. He's the only one who can read music. Fred plays the mouth harp and carries the tune. His wife says Fred is lazy and a tune is the only thing he can carry. Ted blows the white lightning jug, and Tennessee plays the one-string thing. He hopes one day to add more strings. Zeb plays fiddle, and Zeb's son Oscar accompanies his father on concert tours because Zeb's wife works. She models fur coats, always the same one, at a nearby boutique.
This unlikely band of sloth carries the performance to a new level of excitement with their rendition of the Bear Band Serenade, sung by Henry, composed specifically for this show by George Bruns, with lyrics by Extensio to introduce the Bear Band. Disney legend Francis Xavier Atencio, known as X, had worked at the studio since 1938 and moved to Red Enterprises in 1965, where he wrote script and song lyrics for numerous attractions, including Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion. The Bear Band also plays Pretty Little Devilish Mary, which from my research appears to be a traditional mountain song that was first transcribed and put into print by American folk singer and radio entertainer, the prolific William Bradley Kincaid in 1936. He then taught and performed it with Grandpa Jones. On the Country Bear Jamboree soundtrack, the song is sung here by Zeke, voiced by character and voice actor Dallas McKinnon, who lent his voice to numerous Disney records, movies, and theme park attractions, including voicing the bear in one of the animated sequences in the classic film Bedknobs and Broomsticks that I have previously reviewed. I will leave a link to that in the description below.
Wendell is a frustrated basketball player. He quit the game when in the team photograph he discovered he came up to the other player's knees. He then turned to baseball, but 3 people stepped on him. They thought he was second base. He went from baseball to football until 2 quarterbacks threw him for a touchdown. It was after this gridiron career that he latched onto Henry. When Wendell and Henry get together, well, nobody dares mistake Wendell for anything but what he is, a small singing bear.
Voiced by Bill Cole, Wendell sings 2 songs with Henry, Fractured Folk Song and Mama Don't Whip Little Buford. Both songs were written by Kenneth C. Bruns and Henry D. Haynes, who performed together as Homer and Jethro, an old country folk duo who focused on comedic music. These 2 songs appeared on their 1964 album Fractured Folk Songs, which was inspired by the Saturday morning cartoons.
Liverlips McGrowl is a homebody who is never home. His career has spanned the entertainment world, and he is equally famous in radio, TV, nightclubs, and the circus. His throaty growl has captivated audiences everywhere, and he has played return engagements in such famous towns as Paris, Kentucky, Rome, Tennessee, Berlin, Wisconsin, Athens, Georgia, Cairo, Illinois, and Stuttgart, Arkansas. But his heart is always at home, where the Miami Serenader can guzzle home cooking and catch up on his whittling. He has whittled a rain barrel, a bathtub, a pig trough, and a sump pump.
Liverlips is voiced by Bill Cole and sings My Woman Ain't Pretty But She Don't Swear None by Frankie Starr and Paul E. Miller. Frankie Starr was a country singer known for raunchy country boogie music.
Trixie is an old trooper, a veteran performer. There is nary a sourdough or grubstaker who doesn't recall her singing and dancing in the rip-roaring music halls of the western frontier. She has been known variously as the Calgary Charmer, Alaska Allura, Vancouver Vamp, Bewitcher of British Columbia, and Tacoma Temptress. As did so many folks with good sense, she visited Florida and decided to stay. She is now known as the Tampa Temptation. She spends her spare hours thumbing through the pages of her scrapbook and is planning to write a book. I barely remember.
As Trixie, the country singer Cheryl Poole seductively sings a slowed-down version of Leroy Goat and Dale Davis's song, Tears Will Be the Chaser of My Wine, which in 1966 had been a top 20 country hit for Wanda Jackson.
Terence is better known as the vibrating wreck from Nashville Tech. His stay at Nashville was short. The roar of the grease paint called to him, and he became an actor. He performed often with the Barrymores. He was known throughout the Ozarks as far north as Joplin for his tent show rendition of Cyrano de Bergerac. He was one of the few actors who could play the role without a false nose. A fall from the balcony in Romeo and Juliet literally brought down the house. It ended his acting career and the stage, and he turned in his tights for a guitar.
His nasal slow rendition of How Long Will My Baby Be Gone is sung by Van Stoneman of the Stoneman Band, which I will talk about in part 2 of my analysis. Having been composed by musician, singer, songwriter, and bandleader Elvis Edgar Owen Jr., better known as Buck Owens of the Country Music Hall of Fame, whose recording of the song in 1968 hit #1 on the country charts and was the 8th and final recording in a streak of 8 #1 hits. Thanks for bearing with me and watching part 1 of my analysis of this LP, the original soundtrack from Walt Disney World's Country Bear Jamboree. I hope that you will join me next week as I complete my exploration of this album. If you would like to listen to this LP before next week, it is available on Discogs, Amazon, eBay, and your local used record store. I will also leave a YouTube link in the description below. If you enjoyed this type of 50th anniversary content, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Disney Scrapbook channel will be producing other 50th anniversary content throughout the year that will include reviews of Disney films, LPs, books, and theme park attractions. Thanks everybody for watching. TTFN. Ta-da for now.